What is up, everybody? Today we're doing another edition of New to Comics, and again, it's going to be out of the Mass Effect Omnibus thing. I've already done Redemption, I've already done Evolution, and now we're doing Invasion. And this is all about, this one's directly tied with Mass Effect 3 and the Omega DLC, which, by the way, I have not played the Omega DLC. That's kind of like the final conclusion to the story. We will get to that when we get to it. But basically what happens here is, if you played Mass Effect 3, you know that Omega, Aria T'Loak's main base, the base of operations of smuggling and crime and drug and sex, it was taken from her by good old Cerberus. And this wasn't fully illustrated in the original game. You just talk to Aria and she's like, yeah, my fucking shit got taken over and I need a couple favors and blah 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 blah. And she kind of just hangs out on her couch in a club. Very different role for the Queen Pirate, but obviously, because Mass Effect 3 likes to cut out a lot of its content, thanks EA, the mission where you take back Omega is DLC, so I didn't get to play it because of that, but I will one day. Probably when I replay all the games. But, for now, we're going to be talking about Homeworlds, and this one, I don't know if it's my favorite of the three so far, but I will say it has the most, like, consequences. It is literally one of the biggest places in Mass Effect changing guards. And it's a big deal, and it's elaborate. The art is also pretty sexy on here. We got a lot of really good images, a lot less of, like if it's showing just like background characters and stuff, it's like there's still detail to the point where it doesn't look lazy. There's a lot of like ship battling stuff, explosions, like the sci-fi BS, all of it, and it all looks really good. I would say this looks better than the last two. Yeah, definitely better than the first one, and even better than Evolution. Although Evolution was also really good. It's just, sometimes with Evolution, it got kind of cartoony, and this one is really trying to go the extra mile with some of these panels. But the one thing that I don't want this to be my favorite one is, this is very, how can I put this? The majority of what's going on here is just, miscommunication between leaders and generals and stuff. We are introduced to these Cerberus guys. Basically, the plot here is, if you ever read the Mass Effect, which book was it? The only book I've read, I think it's Retribution or something like that. There's this guy named Paul in that book, and if you read it, basically Aria and the Elusive Man are kind of on this like weird plane of mistrust and like whatever else, and whether it's because the Elusive Man's paranoid or he really wants Omega for some reason, or maybe it's because he's so indoctrinated that he's just helping out helping out the Reapers at that point, and the Reapers see Aria as a threat. I don't know, but he's trying to take Omega. And he does this very cleverly. First, there are these Reaper monsters that are on Omega. Aria instantly, kind of takes care of it, but there's just so many. And the elusive, Cerberus basically comes out and be like, hey, this is our fault. These monsters are ours, we're such crazy motherfuckers with our experiments. And Aria she's like, what? But she's so, there's so much going on. She's like, what? Just getting caught in the middle of this. And she's going from, fight to fight to fight. And basically, they take her with them to temporarily leave Omega, and that's when shit hits the fan. They take her captive, and they're gonna take Omega from there. And then you learn, obviously, those accidental Reaper monster creatures that are basically like the bad ones in, I don't know what to call them, because in Mass Effect 3 they are all called different things. Marauder shields, they're called Huss, whatever you want to call them. In Mass Effect Paragon Lost, they look like completely different things. In this one, they're called Onduits, whatever they're called in this. The Reaper hybrid monsters. There you go. And so basically, it's their fault. They purposely sent those monsters after them. And the majority of this entire graphic novel is just Arya like a badass going from biotic battle to being captured to talking with these dumbass Cerberus guys. These Cerberus guys are husks of personality. But I love the fact that when she's gone, basically the guard of Omega can't exist without her. All of the rival gangs start just fucking open firing on whatever the fuck these. They're kind of teaming up to fight these monsters, but they're also, you know, they're fucking gangs. There's obvious. It's like that. It's like in Mass Effect 2 with Archangel. That whole mission. But Arya comes back. They basically are like, okay, you need to get a hold of this. But then they double cross her again. They take Omega for themselves. They basically were like, hey, you can get off of here and we'll keep Omega safe. Or plan B, we'll just blow this place to shit. And Arya regrettably leaves to keep her people safe. You know, we play with ideas like she talks about maybe getting rid of the Omega-4 relay, which, you know, doesn't happen, but just the fact that that's an idea that Arya is willing to go to. And I love Arya, man. She's one of my favorite characters, and I know I say that about every character, but she is such a great, like, awesome, badass bitch who also, like, can have a really interesting conversation. I really just wanted more conversations with Arya and the Elusive Man, because they're like night and day almost. Like, one runs this like enterprise of corruption, but on the surface they're just they're obviously corrupted, and that's part of their gimmick, but if you look at them from a surface level, they're just an organization. And then you look at Arya, the Pirate Queen, and she is about the fucking madness and the evil. And from the surface level, she is corrupted. But hey, she fucking can take a bunch of gangs and make them get rid of a bigger problem on a deeper level that's like the night and day. Whereas Cerberus is corruption, but we are also evil, or we are a organization, but we are also evil. Arya is evil, but we can also be an organization. That was a weird tangent. I just wanted more Elusive Man and Arya, because they're fucking great. But that's basically it for the entire comic. It did get a little bit boring. I read this in 2 different sittings, and those sittings were far enough apart where I was like, maybe I wasn't that interested if I'm not like jumping back to this. But it is interesting. I like Arya's outfit here. The art is really fantastic. And I like that it directly ties into Mass Effect 3. And I think the not the Citadel DLC, the Omega DLC will allow me to finally get the the meaty story with Arya that I've always wanted, because she's always been like a side character, and you know, she gets fleshed out in the novels and the graphic novels, but it's like, I need you like as a companion or something, you know? But we'll see. give it like a 3 out of 5 if I were to rate it. It was a interesting comic, and I am excited to see how the rest of them go. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Mass Effect Invasion, and Arya remains to be a badass bitch that you don't want to fuck with. And anyway, thank you guys so much for watching as always, and until next time with that, I leave you.